Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. The next episode of Red Valkyrie is about to start. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Red Valkyrie. I am your host, Shae Zombie, and I am here with the super awesome Mike Oden. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you, Shae?
I'm doing okay. This is a little different look for me, but we're making it right.
Well, hey, I had to throw you a little bit of a hoop to jump through, I guess.
Right? Yeah, this is one hell of a hoop that I had to jump through, and I copped out and I took the really cheap option. But whatever. Future books, it'll be better. I promise. Now I at least have something I can build off of, and I'll make it look better.
Hey, no worries on my part. I'm stoked that you were able to figure out a character to do, because when you were asking, I was like, so do you have any female characters in the book? And I just went, eventually, not you.
Like book 2 or 3, it'll be fine. So we're obviously here for Elysian Fields issue 0, which is super exciting. And I'm just going to kick it over to you to go ahead and do the pitch.
Okay, so pitch is pretty simple. Fate shackled Achilles in life. In death, he was finally free until a mysterious calling took him from his peace, and he is forced to fight as a champion for Hades in a tournament that crowns the ruler of the underworld every 1,000 years. And so that's the basic premise of the story. And so you have all these different pantheons from across the world that participate in this, and their respective god of the dead is the person represented in this, and they have a team of champions and or monsters that can go in and fight for them to get them this title of Lord of the Underworld. And the current Lord of the Underworld is Lucifer. Hades is trying to get his throne back. There's a bit of shady stuff going on in the background with that he's not really letting his champions know about. But that we go in a bit more into later. But for the 0 issue, essentially what we're doing is we're setting the groundwork, right? We showcase the death of Achilles, him going through the underworld and eventually getting to this arena where he goes in and he ends up fighting his first opponents, which I'm not going to spoil because it's really cool.
Nice. So I really love how you're kind of sticking with the lore and kind of bringing some of that mythology and everything to this.
So mythology has always been a love of mine. When I was growing up, my dad read me this really beautiful version of the Iliad and the Odyssey that was watercolor paintings, and
oh wow,
it was absolutely stunning. And I actually have it upstairs. I'm not going to go run off and grab it, but maybe for the next campaign, I'll bring that and show it around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So ever since then, I just had this love of mythology, and growing up, you end up finding friends that have those similar interests. And that's really how this whole thing started, was just a bunch of nerdy kids in Latin class talking about characters from mythology all across the world and arguing who would win in fights. That was the big thing that brought this project to life. And I want to be as authentic as possible. Now, I am going to be taking artistic liberties here and there, because as a writer, that's my right.
Exactly.
But I want to be as authentic to the mythology as possible. And one of the big things that I'm doing in this is, Achilles was my favorite character of the Iliad. Big goal for this book was to represent Achilles in the most authentic way possible. If you notice in here, it's kind of hard to tell with his helmet on and everything. But Achilles was very young when he went to Troy. He went to Troy between the ages of 13 and 16 years old, if you go by the mythological calendar. So he was a child soldier. And another big thing that plays very heavily into this story is his relationship with Patroclus. And this has been a matter of debate for a very long time, but I've read the Iliad and I've read the Odyssey more times than I can probably count at this point. And while it's not ever specifically stated, that the answers there in subtext that Achilles and Patroclus were lovers. And so this is something that plays very heavily into the story as well, because when Achilles dies, he is reunited with Patroclus in this memory. And it's all this thing that it's this moment of peace that he's been wanting ever since Patroclus died. And the whole goal was to kind of write this from a perspective of Achilles in the Odyssey, who's this person that, in the Odyssey, when he sees Odysseus sees him and he's this very melancholic figure. And Odysseus is like, why are you so upset? You're a king down here. And it's like, I would rather have had a chance to live a life of peace and enjoy the things that I cared about.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a very big driving factor for Achilles in the story, and it's the big thing that gets him to participate in the tournament. And I'm not going to go too much into that because it is a major thing, and so you guys will find out as you read the book.
Right. So we actually already have a question from Ideas. He says, will this be extended? I know you and I talked about this, but I'm going to let you go ahead and say.
So the plan is that this is a 0 issue. This establishes the groundwork for an entire series, which I have plotted out for a long time. And so long as we continue to be successful in our campaigns, and I'll talk about a little bit more about that here in a sec, because it's a bit misleading with this one. Mm-hmm. So long as we continue to be successful and turn profits, we will keep making these books. And the next books they won't be singular issues. They'll be trade paper collections of stories. And the goal is to have 3 to 5 issues of storyline in one trade paper, and then a side story about a side character in the book. So each one of those trade papers, we're looking at anywhere between 150 to 200 pages. So like this should continue past this. And as I said, so long as we continue to make profits, this campaign's a bit misleading. It's my first one, and I put my flex goal a bit too high. Mm-hmm. We're already in profit margins. We're already doing really well. We've recouped all the costs of the book, and that's factored in printing. The only real dark horse at this point is shipping, but even still, based off of the numbers I've been crunching in USPS's basic things for like how much each standard shipping thing costs and what have you.
Media mail and stuff.
Yeah, like we're still doing really well, and we're looking to have around $2,000 in profit just off of what we have right now.
That's awesome.
So like this book is successful. I don't want anybody to be dissuaded. I was on another live stream here a few days ago, and I made sure that this was clear. It does not matter if we do not hit that 10K goal. You're getting this book.
Fantastic.
I want that to be very clear. I have it set so that even if we don't hit that flex goal, we still get the money, and that will be used immediately to get you guys the book. Marcelo is coming close to the end of the interior art. Luke is doing a bang-up job with lettering. So yeah, we're just chugging along. I think that we'll probably have the book finished mid to late June, and then the book will be published and printed, sent to me within that first week of July, and then I'll ship it out from there. So everybody should have their books here by the end, for international people, hopefully by the end of July. I can't, with everything going on right now, I wish I could make better promises, but shipping is what it is at the moment. But for everybody else, I can, if you're domestic, I guarantee you'll get your book within the month of July. And if there's any snafus on that, I'll be sure to put that in an update up on the campaign.
So Pale Rider has some advice. He says, say that you're barely scraping by, but that you guarantee that the book is still going to get made. So it's a really interesting book, and I actually really do like Marcelo's kind of his take. So is he doing pencils and inks?
He does it all. He does the pencil, inks, and colors.
Oh wow. Okay.
He is rocking it, and like as great as those pages are, I am going to show you guys 2 pages that he did that are literally probably my favorite ones that he's done from for this book so far, that are just stunning, and he keeps getting better. Like every single time I get more pages from him, it's like leaps and bounds. And that's not to say that these first pages are bad. They're great. They're fantastic. It's just as he gets more practice drawing these characters, the more that they become distinct. And he just rocks it out of the park. He has a lot of faith in this project, and it's one of the big reasons why I chose him as an artist, is because when I sent him the script, he's Brazilian, so I had to translate it into Portuguese in order to really understand it. And then he got back to me within a day and was just like, "This is so cool. I love mythology. I'm down." And so, like, we've had a great working relationship, and we even established him as the exclusive interior artist of Elysian Fields. So he is going to be continue working on this book so long as we're going.
That's awesome. That is super cool. So you do have a video trailer. Would you like me to play it?
Going ahead.
All right, go for it.
Hey there, welcome to the Elysian Fields crowdfunding campaign. Thanks for giving us a check out. Elysian Fields started off as just a game between friends, nerdy kids debating which mythic heroes would win and pitted against each other. Over the years, as things grew, this became a concept I fixated on, knowing the potential that it could have as a story. Now it's a living, breathing thing, and for it to succeed, I need you. So come check out our Indiegogo campaign and see what you can do to bring Elysian Fields issue 0 to print and beyond. Thank you.
Nice, short and sweet.
Yep. Cool. I didn't want to have it like, I know that you have a lot of people who really want to get to talk about the project, but like as much as I think my plot is great and I think that people are going to really enjoy it, the big seller here is the art, and I'm going to let that speak for itself. And I don't want to make this long drawn out video talking about every little thing about my book. I want them to experience that when they read it.
Right. Well, this just like what Pale Rider had said, he said he just popped in for a second, but this looks pretty cool with a lot of potential. I agree. I think that anytime you start kind of going into a reimagining of mythology and kind of putting your own little spin on it, it's always so interesting to see like what parts stick out, because when you're starting to look at mythology, especially when you start to look at like really big, like the Odyssey, like really big popular stories that have been told through ages over and over and over again, been reimagined I don't know how many times. Anytime somebody tells that story, there's always something that stuck out for them personally as something that was a lot more interesting. And so it's going to be really cool to kind of see what struck you the most, what you felt were really cool moments that maybe were downplayed in other people's versions.
Yeah, that is something that I'm going to have a lot of fun with here in the future. There are going to be things that Achilles experiences and deals with that I feel are very prominent themes, especially in the Iliad with his character, that I feel that has never really been looked at before. One of the big things is the symbolism of Hector wearing Achilles' old armor when they fight. And that that'll be in like a flashback sequence that happens. But because as I said, like the main focus here is obviously the tournament. But of course, in order to get people invested in the characters, you learn about them throughout your narrative, and you weave their backstory into that narrative in a way that's cohesive and engages your audience.
Right.
And so one of the big things that I am looking forward to, and this will happen in the first arc, is there's going to be a thing where Achilles kind of has to confront his own guilt in his own hand in the death of Patroclus. And there is this big thing that has never really been showcased in any of the adaptations of the Trojan War, where, you know, Hector stripped Patroclus's body of Achilles' armor and then wore it, which was completely normal for the time period. That's what you did. But like, it adds in this layer to the confrontation between Achilles and Hector, where Achilles isn't just facing the man that killed his lover, that killed his best friend. He's facing himself.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go over your tiers real quick, and so people
we can do
know
that.
how they can back you?
So we have, I believe it's 5 tiers. We have the digital money saver, and I ended up putting this one in a bit late because I had some advice like, you should do a digital tier, and especially with everything that's been going on. I wanted to have an option for people that were like, man, you know, I would really like to donate to this campaign, but with everything going on, I just don't really have money. So I figured $5 for the PDF would be good. And as a way to make up for the fact that you're not getting a really slick physical copy of the book, the people that get this digital money saver PDF will be getting to read the book first. It won't be by like a lot, but essentially what will happen is the day that I go to ship everybody's stuff out, I'm going to be sending the emails out to them with their PDFs. And so that's the one nice thing about that. I wanted to make sure that everybody here that got a perk tier, you're getting more than just the book. You're getting a thank you from me, because this is my first campaign. This is my first book, and without you guys, it wouldn't be possible. And so the next perk tier is our single issue. And so for the single issue, pretty standard. You just get a single physical copy of the book. And the big thing about all these books, and the reason why they're a little bit on the pricey side, is first of all, the cover. The cover is going to be a cardstock foil stamped holographic cover. It's very pretty. If you actually, the image that I have up there has the effect of the holographic cover on it. You can see the magma.
Yep, I was going to ask about that actually.
Yeah. So that's what that is. That is what it looks like. And in fact, you guys are in for a treat, because I think I have it right here with me. Yep, here it is.
Oh, hold on, gotta make you big.
So I have my sample cover here.
Oh my gosh, that is so pretty. Holy cow.
This is what you're going to be getting. This is it. That you're going to be having this. It's going to look nice and slick and awesome.
Wow.
And we're going with a gloss on the pages, and so you're going to be getting 24 pages of story, but that's not all. You're going to be getting a character art gallery for all of the concept art that Marcelo has done for the book.
Wow. That's super awesome.
So there's going to be that, and then there's also a tease for the next book. We already have the cover for the next book done, and it will be the final page of issue 0, as you will see that cover. And you know, I'm not going to show that because, you know, it's a bit of a surprise.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting stuff. And then so the next thing is single issue deluxe. It's not listed on here because it wouldn't let me re-edit this because people have already purchased the deluxe editions, but we have an add-on with this. All deluxe editions of this book will, in addition to what's listed here, which is essentially you get the physical copy and it's signed by me, you will be getting a pinup done by the very talented Jim O'Reilly.
Ooh.
Yes. So we will. So any deluxe tier of this book will be getting that pinup. So if you get single issue deluxe or double trouble deluxe, you will also be getting a pinup by Jim. I met Jim doing the Indie Vault live stream here, I think a week or two ago, and he made this very kind offer. It was like, hey, if any of you guys want to do pinups for your books, and I was like, you know what, that sounds like a really good way to thank everybody. Our campaign's been doing really well. I can afford it. And so we talked about it, and he's working on it.
Wow.
He's got another some other things that he's juggling right now. So it's not ready just yet, but it will be ready by the time the book is published, and so you guys will be getting those pinups along with your books.
What size are you doing these at?
Probably just a standard, like the I'm blanking on the dimensions, but like your standard like pinup poster.
So there's a bunch. The reason why I ask is because there's a bunch of different. You have 11 by 17, 13 by 19. You got the people that are doing 8.5 by 11.
Probably around either 11 by 17 or 13 by 19. It'll be it'll be a nice sizable pinup that you can put as a spread on the wall.
Is it going to be folded when you ship it?
I believe that is the plan.
Okay. All right. Just getting all the info out there because I'm not asking for selfish reasons at all.
Totally not.
Not even a little bit. Okay. So your $20 tier, Double Trouble.
Double Trouble is you get 2 copies of the book. That's simple. So like that would be really good if like say you wanted to get one for yourself and a gift for a buddy of yours or what have you. That's a good way to do it. Obviously there's the appeal of getting 2 copies, one for reading, one for having as a collector piece. But for that one, I obviously would recommend the Double Trouble Deluxe because you get the signature and you get that pinup.
Which is the last tier.
Yes, the Double Trouble Deluxe. And so I tried to make these as all pretty reasonably priced as possible for what you guys are getting. Like as I said, I wanted this item to be like a collector book. You're going to get it. It's going to be very nice. And I wanted this, as much as this is a great thing that I'm excited to do, this is also a thank you. And this version of the book will never be made again like this. Like you guys, once we will be printing 0 issues for the next campaign, but they will be floppies. They will not have the art gallery, and they will not have the cover style.
Awesome. So this is definitely a collector's item for sure.
Yes. So like I'm going to be ordering a bunch of extra as well, because I do have a few stores that are interested in carrying it once they check out. Double Trouble Elizabeth. All of these perks are available for international. I have people in the UK, I have people in the Netherlands, and I have people in Australia.
So if you want to save on shipping, especially that international shipping that gets a little pricey, Double Trouble might be a good way to go for sure. Yeah,
I want you to know that I'm going to be. It does not matter where you are. I'm going to make sure this book gets to you. If something unforeseen happens with like shipping and it gets lost somewhere, I'll do my best to get you extra copies. If I've run out, then at the very least, what I'll do is I'll try and get another copy or 2 printed. And in the meantime, I'll send you a PDF of the book.
Awesome. All right. So Pale Rider wanted to know, do you have any of the original art for Sailors or any plans?
I would love to do sale of the original art. The big problem is that Marcelo is in Brazil and he's not sure he can get it to me. That was something that I was thinking about doing. And there were a few pages that even I was going to be like selfishly hoarding because it was like, oh, I really like the art on this one, and I'd love to frame it and like have it as a little thing. And he's going to be setting aside some pages, and so we might sell that on a future campaign. But with everything going on, and Brazil isn't necessarily the nicest place in the world. Like when it comes down to its politics and what have you.
Right.
It's just a matter of he's not sure he can get it to us. and he doesn't want to like send it out and then it get messed up or this or that.
Gotcha. So
Hey man, I don't got time. I've got work. I've got a kid. I don't have time to go canoe down to Brazil. That's a lot. Also, what a trip! How many miles is it across? Like I'd have to go across like the Gulf of Mexico down in and what have you, and go to South America, and then I'd have to trek on for a hot minute. Because like I think he's in like central Brazil. I don't think he's like right there on the coastline either. So like you're asking a lot, man.
You know what? We'll see. We'll see if we can't come up with some kind of an interesting solution for that, because I do know that a lot of people would love original artwork, obviously.
And that is something we did. Like for the next campaign, we have a few people doing variant covers, and most of those guys are domestic. And I do know that there are one or two of them that I've talked to about original art, and they'd be fine with me selling it. And so we will more than likely have at least one of those guys' original art available.
Nice. And as Pale Rider says, it's a wonderful story that you'd be able to tell your kid one day.
Man, you're killing me. Yeah, that's a wonderful story I'd be able to tell my kid. And then the story of how I got divorced from my wife for disappearing to go to the Amazon for a month and a half.
You're like, I was just really, really trying to make my backers happy is all. That's all I was doing.
She'd be like, I was the first person to back your book. You don't do this for me. And I'd be like,
oh, so you go, I have a special page I'm saving just for you. You think I went to Brazil and just didn't come back with anything? Oh my goodness. So I'm going to go ahead and, I mean, our chat kind of knows how this works, so they throw out their questions as they get them, which is great. But if you have any other specific questions, please post them, because we would absolutely love to ask Mr. Oden everything that we can. I'm sorry, I just love your last name, so I'm just going to keep on.
Hey, that's
throwing it out there.
I was in the Army. I went to military school. Odin has been a name that I have been going by for a very long time, much to my chagrin.
Hey, I feel you completely. Being military myself, like I actually have a hard time when people use my real name, and I'm like, oh, me? Oh, I forgot that was me. No one calls me that. So this, and it's so funny because you're like, it's a little bit pricier. The reason it's pricier is because we've got cardstock cover with foil stamp, 30 pages of story and artwork, and holographic. And I'm like, I have no idea how you're doing it at this price, to be perfectly honest. $10 for an issue, like that's crazy.
I have our printer is called Hero and Villain Designs, and they have been super generous and helping us out, especially considering we're ordering such high quantities. Another big thing that we're doing that has helped out with that is we had a very large contribution early in the campaign by an old friend of mine, Daniel Zinoviev, and he wanted to get his copies of the book, but he also wanted to donate 25 to a veterans hospital.
Nice.
So we will be donating 25 copies of Elysian Fields to the Walter Reed Special Forces Clinic.
Oh, sweet.
Yes, I'll be going there myself with my dad, who's the leader of his local Special Forces chapter, and we'll be handing them out to soldiers that are there. That is the plan. We're still working out the finer details of that, but we will be donating those 25 to the Special Forces Clinic at Walter Reed.
That is super awesome. You and I have to talk after this a little bit about that, because it's kind of cool. Okay, so I mean, I'm just look. You did holographic. Like I'm already in. I'm trying to not back right now while we're talking, because I have a bad habit of forgetting to sign out after, and then people are like, "Oh, I've got Shae's address," and I'm like, "Ah, shit." Do it every time. So Pale Rider admits he hasn't looked at the campaign yet, but he's planning to. Are there any details on some of the main characters?
Yes, absolutely. So the main characters of the book are Team Hades. You have your main protagonist, obviously, which is Achilles. And the rest of the Team Hades you have, of course, because you can't have a team of Greek heroes without him, the great Heracles. And so, son of Zeus, guy that conquered the 12 labors. You probably seen the Disney movie that's really just an animated knockoff of the 1970s Superman with Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
Literally, like even down to like you have a bald villain with fake hair. It's all there. And then you have this as the second member of their trio. You have Theseus, king of Athens and slayer of the Minotaur and bane of Amazons.
Dislike. Sorry,
well,
as an Amazon, dislike.
And this actually goes into one of the big things that I'm really excited to do is the first, as I mentioned in the first volume of stories that we're going to do in our next campaign, we will have a side story about one of our side characters, and that side character will be Theseus. And it is going to be the love story of Theseus and Antiope. And so it's a story that not a lot of people know, but essentially when Heracles was doing his 12 labors, one of his tasks was acquiring the girdle of Hippolyte, who is Amazon warrior.
Mm-hmm.
And so Theseus goes along with Heracles because they were both members of the Argonauts at one point to help him with this. And when they get to where the Amazons are, he sees Antiope, who's their queen, and falls in love with them and abducts her, but they end up falling in love and they get married, and she becomes queen of Athens. But the Amazons, who are outraged at their leader being captured, follow Theseus back to Athens.
Right.
And Theseus has to fight the Amazons off, and he ends up losing Antiope in the process. And this is a really cool story that, like, is obviously not one you hear about Theseus much.
Right.
You think Theseus, you think, oh, he's the guy that killed the giant bull man in the maze.
Yep.
And as great as the story of him and the Minotaur is, I wanted to do something that is unique, also really cool, but that nobody's heard before, really, unless you're a classicist and have no life like me.
Oh my goodness. I'm trying to see if I can pull up, because we had you had sent me some of the really cool
I do have a concept art. We also have in there so one of the people that you will see Achilles, two of the people you will see Achilles fight at some point in the book are Gilgamesh and Enkidu from Mesopotamian mythology and the Epic of Gilgamesh. And that's also really fun. Honestly, that's the whole point of this book, is just to have a good time. We have obviously some deeper plot elements because you can't keep a story going for long without them. But it's a tournament book. The big thing is watching all these really cool people that you've read about, or hell, even haven't even heard of in some situations, and seeing them fight.
Okay, I think I got some pictures up. So, because one of the reasons that he was asking was he wanted to talk about the possibility of doing something like fan art. So, to give you guys an idea, and you can go ahead and talk about them as we bring them up.
So this is Theseus, and I actually do have a little blurb written on him where essentially the armor of Theseus, and this is an artistic liberty thing that I did, was crafted by Daedalus, who is the person that made the labyrinth, and as a testament to Daedalus's craft, it hasn't aged a day. It still looks as pristine as when he made it for Theseus to fight the Minotaur. And then you have his sword, which is the Aegeus sword, the sword of his father, which has been modified with the golden cord that was made for him to get through the labyrinth. And so he uses that as not only a melee weapon, but as a projectile. And it's kind of like the scorpion shuriken that he throws out to do the get over here kind of bit. And so that's Theseus. Here we have Gilgamesh and Enkidu. You have the first of heroes right over there, here in the left. 2 parts God, 1 part man, because Gilgamesh, and honestly, I want to give Marcelo some severe props here. So I when I wrote down my character design, Gilgamesh did not look like this. However, Marcelo went and researched Mesopotamian mythology and brought up one of the wall carvings of Gilgamesh and of the Mesopotamian kings, and came up with this, and I was blown away.
Yeah, this is pretty fucking badass.
Like, Gilgamesh looks great. I like it. Like, it's one of those things. Like, we had Memnon. I think, I'm not sure if I sent you him, but he's a character that shows up, and like, he dies in like the first 3 pages of the book. And when Marcelo sent me his concept art, I just went, oh man, he looks so cool.
That's probably why he's like, I'm gonna make him super detailed because he's gonna die soon. So
I was just like, don't get me wrong, it adds into the fact, because like the whole thing is the book starts off with them with Achilles and Memnon fighting a duel, and it definitely adds into the suspense, because Memnon's this giant hulking dude with a giant scimitar, and you've got Achilles, who's like a solid like head shorter than him.
That's awesome.
And so it really does add into that whole suspense factor. But it was still just one of those things. I just looked at Memnon's design and went, kind of wish I could figure a way to bring you back, but but yeah. So you've got Gilgamesh and Enkidu, and I know it's interesting. So I initially wasn't really going for the whole Minotaur look for Enkidu. He is part bull. What I was hoping to have him be a little bit more human-like, but this came out, and I was like, he looks so badass. And then on top of that, you've got the added bonus of Theseus fighting another Minotaur kind of deal, and people. So I was just like, yeah, screw it, why not?
Well, and I really like the take on him. I think that it's really kind of cool to do that half man, half bull thing. And show it in this way. I think that's really neat.
Yeah.
And then of course your main
man. Now we have the star of the attraction, Achilles. As I said earlier, and you can definitely tell a lot.
Anyone can come.
You're not wrong. Anyways, so as I had mentioned earlier, the big thing that I really wanted to push here is that Achilles is young.
Yeah.
And you can see that here. He's maybe in his early 20s. The siege of Troy went on for 10 years. He died in the 9th year of it. And if you go by the mythological timeline, which is a jumbled mess, Achilles was like 13, between the ages of 13 and 16 when he went to Troy. He was very young. And so, when you watch things like Troy or the Netflix Troy Fall of a City or this, that, and the other, you always have these like super middle-aged guys that are like immense badasses. And don't get me wrong, Achilles is a badass, but like, he's a kid. And it also adds into his deadliness on the battlefield, because people underestimate him. You see this guy, and he doesn't even look like he can grow a beard.
Right.
In Greek culture and a lot of ancient cultures, like, growing a beard is a sign of manhood. And you've got this guy that just looks like he's barely out of teenage years. And so it's like, who are you to be talking all this shit? And then you find out. Right. The shit talking is earned.
Yeah, no, it's like, oh, I'm just your demise. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal or anything.
That's the whole thing with Achilles, and he's been a blast to write. The thing that I really enjoy about writing these characters is that, people expect certain things from heroes from a modern day scope, but these cultures held completely different values. than we do
Right.
in priority. And so like Achilles is this massive bundle of rage and emotion and is very quick tempered and is vicious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Iliad is all about how his rage is a nuclear weapon that can go off on anybody. Like the first half of the book, he literally goes to Zeus and is like, kill Greeks to make them beg me to come back because they insulted me for taking my toy away. And then Patroclus gets killed, and now Achilles has a reason to hate Trojans, and so then he puts on armor and goes on one of my favorite things that happens in the Iliad is there's a river in Troy called the Scamander.
Mm-hmm.
And rivers in ancient Greek mythologies are also deities, and so Achilles killed so many Trojans in this river that the river god came to life and fought Achilles, and Achilles and him got into a standstill, and eventually Hephaestus dragged Achilles out of the Scamander because there was no like Achilles literally fought a god one-on-one.
You're equally matched. Just stop.
It would have become a war of attrition, and Achilles probably would have lost because the Scamander's an immortal and Achilles is still just a person. Yeah. But like, the fact of the matter is that this guy's rage was so potent that he could fight a god.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he killed so many Trojans that he made the river Scamander red with blood.
Right.
It's really cool. It's one of those really interesting things because throughout the Iliad, you see all these other really badass heroes like Diomedes and Ajax and even Hector and Aeneas on the Trojan side, and they're all doing all these really cool things. And then you get to the point where Achilles gets unleashed in the book, and it's like every single cool thing that has been done in the book so far gets made to look like nothing in comparison. Like Diomedes has a whole 3 chapters where he goes off and like kills a whole bunch of Trojans, wounds 2 or 3 gods in one day, and then you look at that and then you look at what Achilles does, and it's just like, oh my god. What?
So Pale Rider asked the question a minute ago when you were talking about the Amazonian Slayer. He said stretch goal for topless Amazons.
Ooh, maybe we'll see. I'll see what we can't do from Marcelo's end of things.
I'm sure he'd be very upset drawing beautiful.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everyone's like, hey, I need you to draw a whole bunch of. It would be one-breasted women because the Amazons did one to
so they could fire their bow and arrow.
But it would still be. I mean, if you want to see that, man, I'll see what I can't do about making it happen.
Well, I mean, you could easily do it where they're nude, except for the plate that they would usually put over their single mastectomy.
But
he also said he wrote a paper on Achilles being a hero, and Hector was a big puss.
You see, this is my whole thing with the Achilles and Hector thing, and I've gotten into so many arguments with professors that I've had in school about it, because like every modern classical professor will tell you that Hector is the hero of the Iliad because he's the family man and he's the really nice guy, and you root from him from a modern perspective. Mm-hmm. But as I said, this book wasn't written from a modern perspective. This book was written from the ancient Greek perspective. And guess who was the most bad? He is literally called Aristos Achaeon, the best of the Greeks. He's called it for a reason. He's the fucking hero of the Iliad.
Right.
For all of his faults and everything that he does wrong, he is still the protagonist and the hero of the story. And Hector is the antagonist. At the end of the day, the climactic battle of the Iliad is Hector versus Achilles, which isn't even really a battle. It's always been another thing that's really grinded my gears about any of the films, is that they always portray the fight between Hector and Achilles as this big duel where Hector stands a chance. No, Achilles kills him in like 10 seconds. Like Hector tries to stand his ground initially and then realizes he's screwed and runs around the city, and Achilles chases him like 10 times, and then Athena tricks Hector into stopping. And then when they actually fight, Achilles knows that armor. He wore it for the first 10 years of this war. He knows its weakness. And so the moment that Hector starts to charge him, Achilles gets him right in the neck where the armor is weakest, and Hector's done. It lasts for maybe 3 seconds. It's not a fight at all. It's a massacre. And that's the whole point, is that in the face of Achilles' rage, it doesn't matter how awesome you were before. It doesn't matter what your reputation was before. You're going to get leveled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There's a reason the only way he got killed was from far away by a guy who wouldn't even fight his own war. Like Paris. That's another. I'm not going to go into that. really not a big fan of how everyone tries to romanticize the relationship of Paris and Helen. Not good.
He also wanted to know, are you going to get some
Bacchanalian woman running wild? We will eventually. One of the big things that will be a defining character trait of Heracles is that he likes to live it up.
Okay.
And there is obviously a portion of this where the warriors go to relax, and it's going to kind of mirror things like the drinking halls of Mount Valhalla and what have you. So there'll be scantily clad women and men and everything like that going
Greek
around.
Women gone wild.
Going around appeasing everybody because, like, and this is another thing. I had mentioned Achilles and Patroclus are lovers, and there's a big reason why I haven't attached that to anything. From like the modern like LGBTQ movement or anything like that, is because the concept of sexuality didn't apply back then for these people. It like especially when you go into like Greek or even Viking culture, it's like you screwed who you screwed.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing to it outside of that. And so like when I write these characters, it's not for like the sake of pushing anything. It's the sake of this is what it is. Like Achilles and Patroclus, they actively mix those dudes' ashes together. You don't just do that for your best friend.
Right.
Like when Agamemnon tells Achilles about his funeral in the underworld, he was like, yeah, we took your ashes and Patroclus's. I know, Pale Rider. I know.
I feel like you and Pale Rider could get along really, really well on this.
I'm digging our back and forth. Like I could literally go off on like a 2.5 hour rant on how what Paris and Helen did was completely awful. And like Helen knows that what she did is awful. There's an entire it's the worst chapter of the Iliad because it's an exposition dump that makes King Priam look like the stupidest man on the face of the planet. But there's an entire section of the Iliad where they're essentially going through all the Greek generals and war chiefs. And it's essentially Helen telling Priam about who all these people are while simultaneously bashing herself for being such a horrible person and causing this war. Because she has come after 10 years of fighting, she's come and watching people die for her sake. She's come to realize that she made the wrong call, but like there's no point in going back over at this point in time, and so like it's just this whole thing like what she like people don't realize. Helen had kids with Menelaus. She had a daughter, Hermione. And she had a baby son that she abducted along when she went with Paris and that got raised with them. They took Menelaus's firstborn son, and like the next time that Menelaus gets to see his kid again, that kid's calling Paris dad.
Oh, wow.
Like there's no justification. Like this Menelaus opened his home to this guy.
Right.
As a way to make a treaty with Troy, and showed him ample hospitality. And not only does he walk off with his wife, he walks off with his kid.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Helen was the face that launched 1,000 ships, right?
Yes,
Okay.
she is.
Just making sure I had the right person. There's so many people.
Helen was the wife of Menelaus that was abducted by Paris. And like there are several versions of the story. Mm-hmm. Did I have to do much research in mythology and history? Yes. So the Greek stuff I didn't have to do too much on. I grew up reading Greek mythology and classical myth and everything like that. Thanks, Genuine. I disagree with that, Pale Rider. She hates herself for everything that happened in Troy. And that's very evident in both the Iliad and the Odyssey, especially since she gets back with Menelaus at the end of the Odyssey and is genuinely sorry about it. And they have more kids and they live happily ever after the Trojan War. She hated being that thing. Right. I think that she was enamored with it initially because she is a bit of a narcissist. She is a demigod. She's a daughter of Zeus. But there comes a point where even I think the shittiest person would look and see just how awful things are because of their actions. And the only exception to that rule in the Iliad in the Odyssey is Paris. Paris is a piece of shit up until the end.
Well, and to come at it from a female perspective, to have a bunch of people willing to like fight for you is heady initially, but after a while, when you start to see it, and you're like, seriously, everybody stop! Like, I no more. I didn't mean to.
Yeah, like it, and like that was the whole thing, and you know the reason why they got the 10,000 ships was because of Odysseus, who had made the pact of the suitors when Helen was, and that was the other thing. Helen chose Menelaus. It wasn't like you know it was an arranged marriage. They had the pact of the suitors, and Menelaus had grown up in the court of her father when him and Agamemnon were in exile from their uncle. And so she chooses Menelaus, and then after a few years of marriage and having 2 kids, the pretty boy shows up and sweeps her off her feet, and she runs off with him and takes her son with him. Like she was I personally feel that she was very much in the wrong initially, but like there came a point in the Iliad where she came to realize this was dumb. And she even tries to leave Paris twice in the Iliad. And Hector both times tells her, no, my people didn't die for you to just abandon them.
Yeah.
Get back there and warm my brother's bed because you're being shitty.
Oh, wow.
That's literally that's essentially what Hector says. Is like you need to go comfort my brother so that he has the balls to actually fight his own battles. Because that was
terrible.
Well, that was the whole thing about Paris, was that Paris is a skilled fighter. In the Iliad, he's a very skilled fighter. When he fights Menelaus, he makes Menelaus look like a chump initially, and then Menelaus smacks him in the face with a rock. Oh. And starts dragging him back to the Greek line, and then Aphrodite saves his ass.
That's so funny.
But Paris, the reason why Paris was considered a coward, it wasn't even the fact that he was a master of the bow. Odysseus was a master of the bow, and nobody looked at him funny for being good at the bow. Heracles was a master marksman with a bow, and nobody gave him funny look. Like he's one of the greatest Greek heroes of all time. The reason why Paris was looked down upon was the fact that despite the fact that he had the skills to be fighting on the front lines, he was on the walls of Troy shooting people with arrows and letting people die for his cause. That's why Paris was a piece of shit.
Yeah. Gosh, the amount of knowledge that you have in your head about all of this is just insane to me, because I've read the Odyssey. Like, we had book reports in the Odyssey probably 4 years in a row, and I don't know, I think I might have gotten through it for beginning to end once, because I was a really good bullshitter in school. So I bullshitted my way through most of my writing.
It's not a big deal. In my opinion, the Odyssey is the lesser of the two books.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's always, why read Iron Man when you can read the Avengers? Iliad has the massive cast of characters, and it's not just Odysseus pumping his fist about how great he is.
Yeah.
I think that means my son is up. James, do you want to come here, Bubba? We might get James in to come promote.
Yes.
James, come here, buddy.
Come say hi.
He's 2. So he just woke up from his nap. Oh, come here.
Hi.
Say hi, James.
He's like, what is happening?
Anyways, buddy.
He's so tired.
But the big thing was for me, as I said, Odyssey was this kind of whole thing about how great Odysseus was,
mm-hmm.
whereas the Iliad was the story about all of these great heroes from both sides.
Right.
Like, the only person that anyone could categorize as a villain in the Iliad is actively Paris. Like, even Helen is heroic at points because she's like, I don't want this to continue. I want it to let me go back. Right. And she's willing to sacrifice herself to end the war. And it's literally like Hector stops her and just goes, no, my people have sacrificed way too much for this. You're going to go keep my brother company and make him do his damn job.
Well, the entirety of this book, this 0 issue sounds really, really exciting. I'm really stoked because I'm a sucker for gimmicks. So like this holographic cover, I'm totally 1,000% in. That's all I needed. I just needed the holographic cover. Like, I'm sold. But the story seems really interesting, and just the amount of knowledge that you have on this topic and how much you are comfortable with it means that when you are writing about it and you're slightly changing stuff, it's going to come across very, very well.
And that's something that I hope comes through. Like, this is my first comic. I've wrote like freelance reviews and what have you for industry blogs. I used to work for Movie Pilot. I worked for Heroic Hollywood for 2 weeks, and we won't talk about that. And I currently do writing for Up Your Geek, which is a great site. So I'm hoping that when it comes down to the creative side of things, I draw people in the way that I do with my other writing, and I'm hoping that I don't fall into the same traps that I catch people on in my reviews. That's going to be not fun if somebody's like, "Hey, you said this that my book had bad pacing. Well, look at this."
Yeah. Well, normally, if you're the one that's criticizing and pointing that out, you're a lot more sensitive to it in your own writing. Yeah. So,
but it's been a blast doing this book. Like, I'm very comfortable with the Greek mythology, but there has been things that I've had to do a lot of research on. Mesopotamian mythology is something that I'm nowhere near as well versed in, and so luckily, like the Mesopotamians, I really have them in there to kind of set the stage and set some stakes, so we don't go too deep into their lore. But like, I did a lot of research on Gilgamesh and Gilgamesh's attitude, and I hope that reflects in how I write him as kind of this arrogant asshole.
Yeah, that's basically him. So I wanted to say thank you so much for coming out, and thank you to everybody in the chat, because you guys have been super awesome. I love all of the interest and the passion on this particular topic, and I think that if you just get a little bit more traction, I know that your $10,000 goal was maybe a little bit ambitious.
Yeah, and like that's my whole thing is and I want to, before we head out, I do want to reemphasize, even no matter what happens, if we hit that 10K, I will probably cry, and I'll figure out something special to do for you guys as like a reward for that, because like you will have literally funded my next book. I won't have to, like, I'll have enough to cover this and cover the next one, and literally everything that I make off the next campaign will be profit. So like if that does happen, you guys are the best. Even if it doesn't, as I said, we're already in profit margins. We're already starting on the next project. And Red Valkyrie, thank you once again, Shae. And yeah, as I said, you'll be getting a nice little sneak peek here after the show.
I'm so excited.
I do want to share with everybody a page that has not been put on the campaign and is probably one of my favorite pages from the book, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
So you're about to see the death of Achilles.
Oh no!
So let's see, applications window.
Oh, I think it might have frozen. Yeah, it totally froze him out. Oh, what a tease. Oh my goodness. So I'm hoping that we can get him back in a second here. Genuine Comics is ready to go and criticize your book, so that's awesome. Fade, I know, I'm so sorry that you missed it, dude. If you're into Greek mythology, this is a really good episode to watch, because a bunch of our guys definitely got back and forth with this. And yes, Genuine Comics, we have now officially seen the death of Achilles. Oh, this is terrible. I will have to see if I can get him to post it potentially on the tweet that'll come once we end up finishing here. But he has officially dropped. That is terrible. I am so sorry, everyone. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming out. Thank you guys for being super amazing. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie, and go back. Elysian Fields. It is super. It looks super entertaining as hell. And oh, good, we've got him back.
Oh goodness, I want to go.
Yay!
It just said no, and I went, oh goodness.
Yeah, we joked that we saw the death of Achilles live. So I told everyone in your absence we were just going to see if we could get you to potentially post it on the tweet once we post out about this video, and so people can kind of get a shot at it.
I will do that as well if there's anyone still watching. Let's see.
We're gonna try it one more time.
We are gonna try it one more time.
Uh-oh. I'm super nervous. Oh, okay. It looks like it's up now.
All right. Did that come through?
It is a black screen.
Oh, fun. Oh, God. Okay, hold on one sec.
I'll try one more time. One more time, and then we're going to call it.
Share screen. Yep. Application window. Oh, you're making me mad. There. All right. This is what I will do. It's not coming up on screen share for whatever reason. I'm going to try application window. You're making me look bad. Making me look like I don't know how to use technology. This is the worst. I don't, but like, you don't have to make that broadcast. Yeah, I think what we'll do is, as a thank you, I'll at you on Twitter.
That sounds great.
We'll post up those two pages that are fully colored and what have you, very pretty. And yeah,
that'll be super exciting. So once again, thank you everybody for coming out. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Red Valkyrie. Don't forget to back Elysian Fields. It's in the chat. It is in the description for the video. It's going to be a super awesome book, so make sure that you get on it. And thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. It has been an absolute blast. And we'll catch y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.